Hey everyone, today's video is on midpoint. So the midpoint is a point on a line segment that divides the segment into two congruent parts. So the most basic idea of this is if M is the midpoint AB, we have a drawing then that we have a line segment that is AB and M is in the middle such that AM is congruent to MB. And that's exactly what it says, where it's two congruent sections. So if AM is congruent to MB, that means AM equals MB. And that also means that AM equals half of AB. And all three of those are applications of this midpoint theorem. So the application, given that M is the midpoint of AB and AM equals 2x plus 1 and BM equals 3x minus 1, find everything. So I know that AM equals MB or BM. So that means 3x minus 4 is equal to 2x plus 1. I solved that algebraically. And I get x equals 5. Well, once I know x equals 5, I can find AM by doing 2x plus 1, substituting x. So it's 2 times 5 plus 1 equals 11. So that means AM equals 11, which also means BM equals 11, which also means AB equals 22, or a half. So now we're going to talk about on a coordinate grid. So I want you to go ahead and try 1 and 2. Pause and come back, and we'll talk about them. Okay, so I plotted AB, and I want to find the midpoint. Midpoint means the middle. So what I can do is I can count this and find out that AB is 6, so the middle is 3. So I start on A and I count over 3. 1, 2, 3. And if I go from B backwards, and so the midpoint there is really 4, 4. And another way to think about it is they have the same y coordinates, so I'm looking for the middle between 1 and 7. So the middle between 1 and 7 is 4 because I find the average. So 1 plus 7 divided by 2 gives me 4. When I do CD, again, I can count. They are 4 apart, so halfway is 2. So that's the midpoint there. And so there, my midpoint is 3, negative 1. Again, they have the same y, or the same x, so I'm only looking for the y value. So again, the middle between 1 and negative 3 is I find the average, 1 plus negative 3 over 2, and that gives me negative 1. So now the question is, what do I do if it's diagonal? So if I plot E and F, I want to find the middle. Well, what I really need to do is I need to find the middle of the x coordinates and the middle of the y coordinates, and that's my new point. So I'm going to find the average between 1 and 7, which is 4, and the average between 2 and 4, which is 3. So if I go over 4 and up 3, oh, look, that's exactly in the middle. So the answer is 4, 3, because I count over 3, up 1, over 3, up 1. So midpoint formula is exactly what I just said, which is find the average. So if I have the points x1, y1, and x2, y2, the midpoint formula is I add the x's together and divide by 2, add the y's together and divide by 2, and finding the midpoint. So now, example 1, I'm going to use that formula. So it's always a good idea, and I require it, that you write the formula before you use it. So I'm going to do 2.5 plus 3.25 over 2, comma 1.25 plus -1 over 2. And you can use your calculator for that. So I just used my calculator, and the midpoint there is 23/8, -3/8. Okay, we're going to pick up with example 2. Sorry about that. I got interrupted by the bell. Poor planning on my part. So example 2, it says midpoint DG is M, -1, 5, and one endpoint D is 1, 4. So we know the midpoint. So we're going to start first with the formula, and there's actually 2 different ways we can do this. I'm going to show you both. You could also do it graphically. So I know that this equals the midpoint. So that equals mx comma y, which means mx, the midpoint x coordinate, equals x1 plus x2 over 2. And the midpoint y coordinate equals y1 plus y2 over 2. So then I can substitute what I know. So I know the midpoint x coordinate is -1. I know one endpoint is 1, so it's 1 plus x over 2. So -1 equals 1 plus x over 2. So then I solve that. I get -2 equals 1 plus x, so -3 equals x. I can then do the same thing for the y coordinate. So I know the y coordinate is 5 equals 4 plus y over 2. That means 10 equals 4 plus y, so 6 equals y. So my answer is -3, 6. The other way I can think about it is I can kind of sketch it out in my mind. So I have D, which is 1, 4. And then I have the midpoint, which is -1, 5. And I put that to the left because x is 1, then I go to -1. So I'm going this way to the left, and I need to figure out what the other end would be. So for my x coordinate, I go from 1 to -1, which means I subtract 2. So if I go from the end to the middle and I subtract 2, when I go from the middle to the other end, I'm going to subtract 2 more. So that gives me -3 as the x coordinate. The y coordinate, I go from 1 to 5, so I go, or not 1 to 5, 4 to 5, so I go up 1. And so then if I go from the midpoint to the other end, I go up 1, which gives me 6, which also gave me the answer -3, 6. So you can do those problems either way, whichever you're more comfortable with. Again, if you have questions, please bring these to class tomorrow.